Here.
Thompson here. Arcan.
Here.
Lloyd.
Here.
Daniels.
Here.
Ellison.
Here.
Newmaster.
Here.
Thank you. I would ask you all to please stand and remove your hats for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have before us an agenda. I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Thompson and a second.
Second.
Second by Dr. Newmaster. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And the motion passes. We have an agenda. We also have before us a consent agenda, which is the various things that come before us monthly, including donations from our community. And as always, our community has stepped up and contributed wonderfully to the students and staff in our district. So thank you so much for that. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Strifoji and a second.
Second.
A second by Ms. Daniels. This will require a roll call vote. I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Strifoji.
Yay.
Thompson. Aye. Arcan.
Aye.
Lloyd.
Aye.
Daniels.
Aye.
Ellison.
Aye.
Newmaster.
Aye.
And the motion passes. We have a consent agenda. It's now time in the agenda for the public forum portion of the meeting. There was one request submitted to speak. Ray, I'm going to try not to mispronounce your name. Ray Julianauskas. Is Ray Julianauskas here? Last call? Okay. It appears that Ms. Julianauskas is not here, so we will move on to the next item on the agenda. Move into informational items. C1, student recognition video. Dr. Kazmierczak.
All right, thank you, Chair Ellison, members of the board. Our student recognition video tonight honors students who represented the district at state-level contests as a football all-state team honoree and as unified Special Olympics bowling team members. Well done, students, and thank you to the staff and family members who supported the students along the way. Go Bears and roll the video.
Thank you, and congratulations, students. We will move into our next informational item, C2, which is the student liaison report and the superintendent's report. Ms. Collier.
Okay. Heading towards winter break at the high school level, many students are getting into their holiday spirit with the Fun Spirit Week. Tomorrow at South is Wear Your Warm Winter Gear, and North Spirit Days begin on Wednesday with festive pajamas. South Campus is also accepting donations throughout the week, including warm clothes like hats and coats and food for the South Campus pantry. Boys basketball plays Forest Lake tomorrow at 5 p.m. On Thursday, boys hockey plays at home at 5, and girls gymnastics competes at 6. And on Friday, girls basketball plays Stillwater at 6.
Thank you, Ms. Collier. Dr. Kazmierczak.
Thank you, Chair Ellison, members of the board. So the 2022 annual update is currently available on the website. Print versions of the report will be available in January. That cover is going to win an award, I'm pretty sure. The annual update information is also included in the Bears Bulletin Flipbook portion of the Winter Community Services catalog that will be shared electronically with the community very soon. We hope that students and staff members enjoy themselves during the upcoming winter break. School will not be in session from December 21st through January 2nd. We look forward to welcoming students and families back on Tuesday, January 3rd. I recently spent time in schools asking students what advice they have for students and staff as they leave for winter break. So watch for that video to be released in about a week to get some great ideas. Before the extensive work in the original portion of White Bear Lake Area High School North Campus begins, we will host a community-wide event to allow students, families, graduates, and community members the opportunity to walk the circles of North Campus one last time. The White Bear Lake History Club and the White Bear Lake Historical Society are working with us for the event, which will take place on the evening of January 18th. Additional information will be shared soon. Our kindergarten families will soon receive kindergarten enrollment packets, including elementary guides and elementary experiences bookmarks in English, Spanish, and Hmong. Enrollment for the 23-24 school year will open this Wednesday, December 14th. As students are officially enrolled, they will receive a kindergarten welcome packet, including a special I Am a Bear t-shirt. Right, I'll end my update tonight by sharing a fun welcome video from our elementary principals who have a message for our incoming 2023 kindergarten students and their families.
We are excited to welcome our incoming kindergartners and, of course, our incoming kindergarten families next fall.
Soon, we will be sending out kindergarten enrollment packets that contain details about our kindergarten and elementary programs.
We hope you get online and check out what we're up to. You can find fun student and staff highlights in our community e-newsletter. See individual school happenings on the specific building pages of the website, or follow us on social media for 624 Facts, share outs on Facebook and Twitter. Find fun videos, including this one, on the district's YouTube channel.
One of the things you'll see when you check out the website is the district's building projects made possible by the community support of the 2019 bond referendum.
Regardless of which school you call home, you will be in good hands, or maybe I should say good paws. Each school has a unique characteristic, including one with an international baccalaureate program, one offering a school-wide advancement via individual determination, otherwise known as AVID, and others with strong nature and science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematic components.
Our elementary schools are supported by engaged parent communities, and our district is supported by an engaged community. Some of our innovative and award-winning partnerships include those with the White Bear Center for the Arts, the White Bear Area YMCA, Tamarack Nature Center, the University of Minnesota, Lakeshore Players, and McPhail Center for Music.
Sounds like a fun place to be, right? It is. If you're ready to enroll in the district, go to isd624.org/enroll to find the enrollment link.
We look forward to having you join our schools so you can also experience safe, nurturing, and challenging environments, differentiated instruction, hands-on learning, and a focus on academic, social, and personal development of each student.
We are so excited for you to start your school career as a Bear. Until we see you in person, we have a fun assignment for you. Learn the enthusiastic Go Bears cheer that our students enjoy practicing. Try it with us on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Go Bears!
That was great. Makes me want to go to
We're
kindergarten
already looking
here.
forward to
Yeah.
next year, right? Okay.
Wonderful. Any questions for Dr. Kazmierczak? All right, thank you. We will move into our first discussion item, D1. Presentation of pre-sale report related to upcoming issuance of facilities maintenance bonds. Mr. Wald.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Ellison, members of the board. Dr. Kazmierczak, Ms. Collier. At the November 14th, 2022 school board meeting, the board approved the resolution of intent to sell general obligation long-term facilities maintenance bonds in the maximum aggregate principal amount of $34,505,000. This bond sale was included in the 2019 Building Our Future referendum, was calculated into the tax impact projections at that time. Greg Crow, president of Ehlers Public Finance Advisors, is with us tonight, and he'll present the pre-sale report for the upcoming sale. And that report is in the board packet as well. Welcome, Mr. Crow.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Crow.
Thank you, Chair Ellison, board members, Superintendent Kazmierczak. Nice to be here tonight. I think you remember Shelby was here last month to present the resolution. You have this pre-sale report in your packet. I'll just walk through it and kind of give you a sense of where the market is at and what we're anticipating with the actual bond sale and a little bit of a timeline. So this is kind of your due diligence document for the bond sale itself, so you can understand all the process that goes through that. Some of you are familiar with this, but I'll walk through a little bit and point out some highlights to you. So if you look at the first page, and actually the cover, as Mr. Wald referenced, the board authorized the issuance last month of $34,505,000 of bonds, and on the cover and on the proposed issuance paragraph on the first page, we're noting that the estimated bond size right now is $33,415,000, so about $1 million less than what was authorized. And the reason for that is that we're anticipating that the district will receive bids with a bond premium, and a bond premium, if you remember, is where someone pays you more for the bonds than you're selling them for, and you can take those bond proceeds and put them into your construction fund toward those costs and actually issue slightly less bonds to actually fund the actual amount of project costs. That number will change on the day of sale based on what the bids look like. So it's a competitive bidding process based primarily on interest rates, but there are other things that will change within the bid. So that number is likely to be different than what you see here today, but in that ballpark. And of course, the number one goal is to make sure there's enough funds deposited in your construction fund to finance the project costs that are being covered with these bonds. As mentioned, this covers deferred maintenance projects. I'll note under term and call, this is about a 9-year bond, so relatively short, and it is callable. So the maturities that are paid in after fiscal year 2031 and later, and there are 2 of them, will actually be callable for interest rate savings. And since we're in a higher rate market, there's potential for some savings, and actually about $10 million of the $33 million will still be outstanding at that time with a couple of payments. So there will be an opportunity to potentially refinance the bonds and lower the cost to your taxpayers at that time. One note on the bottom and also page 1 and the top of page 2 as it relates to your rating. You do participate in the State Credit Enhancement Program. That was in the resolution you approved last month. That carries with it the state's AAA bond rating as you go to sell your bonds. You also have an underlying credit rating for the district itself. Right now that rating is AA- with a negative outlook, given some stress that's been on your budget. So we'll have a refresher kind of back and forth with the rating agency that's already started. Since they did rate you recently for the bond issue this spring, we're not likely to have a conference call, but we are sharing information back and forth, and we'll see what they think of the district's financial position, the community economics, and those factors that go into the rating. And we'll have that updated when we present the results of the bond sale. There's some notes in about competitive bidding, which is what I was discussing earlier, and premium pricing. And then a note about the parameter that was set in that resolution that the bids would be accepted if they're below 5%. And just as a point of reference, in our pre-sale schedules that we'll look at the end, The interest rate we're assuming is about 4.14%. The market is much higher now than it was last spring. You got about a 3% rate on your last bond issue, but rates have actually been coming down over the last month or 6 weeks. And the Bloomington School District, which is slightly higher rated, they're AA versus a AA minus, sold some bonds today that are about 10-year bonds, and they had 13 bidders and an interest rate of 2.99%. So that moderation in the interest rate market could play to your benefit. There's a lot of demand because there's not a lot of new issuance coming out right now, but there are still investors that want tax-exempt municipal bonds in their investment portfolio. So we'll hope to see a high number of bids and a lower rate than what we've got in the parameter, of course, but even in what we have in our pre-sale report. There's some boilerplate language, and then if you go to page 5, there's a tentative schedule, and as I mentioned, you adopted the resolution establishing those parameters and setting the sale last month. Tonight you're reviewing the pre-sale. During late December, we'll be publishing the official statement for investors to review in advance of bidding, which we anticipate to take place on January 5th. You will have another resolution with board action at your January 9th meeting to approve the award of sale that will happen on the 5th by the designated officials and board member should the interest rate be below that 5% parameter. And then you'll have funds on hand on January 26th. Page 6 is a sources and uses table that shows how the 34.5 authorized amount translates to a $33.4 million bond issue, and with the estimated $1.044 million premium, we're estimating about $34 million going into your construction fund, which would cover the project costs. Page 7 is a principal and interest table. Page 8 is our eye chart that's barely readable, but we try and include all of your debt and capital levies on there. I think the more illustrative is the chart that's on the back page, which is the tax rates coming off of that table. And this is the one that we've been sharing since 2017 or so as it relates to all the planning and then the sale of the initial bond sale of the voter-approved bonds. And as you can see, for taxes payable 23, the upcoming year, tax rates are actually dipped for capital levies, and that's because of the significant growth in the school district tax base. But with this bond issue, we've got a certain amount of levy on for pay 23, but then in pay 24, we'll allow it to float back up to the tax rate that matches 20 and 22, which are the tax rates at the level that we talked about with the electorate during the voting in 2019, to stay consistent with that. And obviously you can see on the chart that 10 or 12 years out or so, we're still planning step downs in debt service. So even though you're doing a lot of work right now, it's likely that your work will continue on the capital front. So you've got some ability to finance future projects while still maintaining that tax rate that was discussed in 2019. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the report or the resolution that you took up last month.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Crow? All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you too. So the next item on our discussion agenda is the truth and the presentation and public hearing related to the proposed taxes. We cannot start that until 6 p.m. as that was the posted time, and so we are going to skip over that, and we're going to move on in the agenda, and we will come back to this at the appointed time of 6 p.m. to ensure that we stick with the schedule that was published. So we will move on to discussion item D3, which is the first reading of school board policies. For those who are new to the school board meetings, we do a first reading of school board policies, and then the following month we do a second reading, which is when we approve those policies. And so this is a first reading. We are looking at policies 514, 524, 530, 611, 618, 619, and 708. If any board members have any comments or questions about any of these policies, please do give us the page number, the policy number, and the page number so we can follow along. Any questions? All right, seeing none, these will come back before us in January for a second reading. We will move on to our operational items. Operational item E1, action on certification of the 2022 payable 2023 property tax levy. So that will have to wait until after. So we're going to, after the presentation, so we will move on to E2, which is the action on the bid for the Area Learning Center HVAC restroom and window project. Mr. Wald, thank you for your flexibility, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, this E2 is the action on bid for the Area Learning HVAC restroom and window project. So this is the final work to be completed at the Area Learning Center. These are LTFM bond-funded projects. And so the bids were opened, and Kraus Anderson is recommending bids to the low bidders with a total amount of $3,818,474. Again, this is funded with LTFM bond sales. And so the recommended action to the board is that they accept the overall bid for the Area Learning Center HVAC, restroom, and window project as presented in the amount of $3,819,474.
Thank you, Mr. Wald. You've heard the recommended action. Could I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Daniels and a second?
Second.
A second by Ms. Beloit. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, this will require a roll call vote. I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Strifoggi,
Aye.
Thompson, aye. Arcand.
Aye.
Floyd,
Aye.
Daniels.
Aye.
Ellison.
Aye.
Newmaster.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Wald. We'll move on to E3, which is the action on the bid for Hugo Elementary HVAC.
Yeah, so the Hugo Elementary HVAC is scheduled to move ahead with construction occurring in the summer of 2023. So the HVAC materials are, the lead time on ordering and receiving HVAC materials is significant. And so we're approving this now. We expect that those materials will be available in the summer of 2023, but that work will go through fall of 23, maybe into winter of 24, possibly 23, 24. The bid is $633,300, and again, Kraus Anderson has vetted all of the bids and is recommending moving forward with these low bids. So the recommended action is to accept the overall bid for the Hugo Elementary HVAC project as presented to Ebert Construction in the amount of $633,300.
Thank you, Mr. Wald. You've heard the recommended action. Could I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Strifoggi and a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Newmaster. Any questions or discussion? Ms. Beloit.
I was just wondering, what's the scope of this? I mean, what is the HVAC stuff that they're working on or fixing or replacing?
Yeah, so when Hugo Elementary was renovated, and I don't have the year on the top of my head, but a number of years ago, the HVAC was replaced in much of the building at that time, but not all of it. And so this will be the final phase of that. And we'll just complete the HVAC renovation, mechanical renovation of that building.
Thank you.
It's probably the equivalent of a third of the square footage, roughly, that didn't get touched. And
Is this the lunchroom and I'm trying to think which area it is. I thought it was like the lunchroom area and some of those others.
It's a hallway corridor of classrooms, primarily.
Thank you.
Yep, so one corridor had the HVAC renovated and one didn't. And so that was very clear the spring when we had a 90-some degree day, and part of Hugo was relatively comfortable and the other part wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one side was freezing, the other side wasn't.
Kim, I have a question. Just generally, where did these bids come in from where, compared to what we thought they would come in at?
Yeah, and these came in favorably as well. So we've been fortunate. I think we've had really good costing from our teams at Wold, Krause Anderson, Hallberg Engineering, and so this also came in below budget.
Questions, discussion? This will require a roll call vote. I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Strifo.
Aye.
Thompson, aye. Arcan.
Aye.
Beloit.
Aye.
Daniels.
Aye.
Ellison.
Aye.
Newmaster.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Thank you. We will move on to, thank you, Mr. Weld. We will move on to operational item E4, action on the acceptance of BROCHUS grants.
All right, I'll jump
Dr.
in on that one.
Kazmierczak.
Yep. Thanks, Chair Ellison, members of the board. So the White Bear Lake Area Educational Foundation has forwarded 12 BROCHUS teaching grants to me with the request that the grants be formally accepted by the school board. So as part of the internal process, prior to consideration of any proposal, the foundation reviews the proposals with our administration, and we confirm that the proposals are consistent with our curriculum, and if technology is used, consistent with our technology plan. So the recommended action is to accept the 12 BROCHUS teaching grants from the White Bear Lake Area Educational Foundation as included in the board packet. Well, I'll read the recommendation word for word here, but accept the 12 BROCHUS teaching grants from the White Bear Lake Area Educational Foundation as shown in the attached materials in the total amount of $22,224.99.
All right. You have heard the recommended action. Could I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion by Dr. Arcand and a second?
Second.
A second by Dr. Newmaster. Any discussion or questions? Ms. Daniels?
Just to thank the foundation. In reading those, they're really exciting proposals, and I think they're going to benefit our students. And it's just so wonderful that we have this opportunity in the district. So thank the foundation for that.
Dr. Newmaster.
Thank the foundation, but I also thank the teachers and their creativity and looking at what the kids need and how much work it takes to put that together. So everybody's skills and funds really are a blessing to our kids. So thanks.
Any other comments or discussion? Seeing none, this will require a roll call vote. I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Strifo.
Aye.
Thompson, aye. Arcan.
Aye.
Beloit.
Aye.
Daniels. Ellison.
Aye.
Newmaster.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Just checking my time here. I got 2 minutes. Okay, so we're going to move on to operational item E5, which is the action on the strategic plan. Ms. Babish, is that you?
Good evening, Chair Ellison, members of the board, Dr. Kazmierczak, Ms. Collier. In June of 2022, a group of approximately 30 community members and school district representatives gathered to examine the district's strategic plan. The planning team affirmed the strategic plan's beliefs, objectives, mission, and parameters. The group also considered the concept of strategic emergence as it developed new strategies that will be the district's focus moving forward. I want to thank the 30-member team for their time and dedication to this work. At the August 8th, 2022 school board meeting, the 4 strategies that were developed and agreed upon by the planning team were presented and are listed on the slide. They are as follows. We will create and sustain a safe and equitable and nurturing environment. We will promote, encourage, and support students' personal learning experiences and aspirations. We will ensure our organization continuously transforms to fulfill our mission, and we will establish healthy and vital engagement with our entire community. Throughout the months of September and October, strategic plan action teams met to develop action plan specific results for the strategies. On November 2nd, 2022, the planning team reconvened to confirm the action plan specific results. Again, I want to thank the 48 members of our community and schools who met multiple evenings to develop the specific results. Now, at the November 28th, 2022 school board work session, the action plan specific results were presented for discussion. The recommended action tonight is to approve the 4 strategies and action plan specific results developed for the strategic plan.
You heard the recommended action. Could I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion by Dr. Arcand and a second?
Second.
A second by Ms. Daniels. Any questions or discussion? Dr. Arcand.
I just had a question on where we are on that 5th area that we are working on. Where are we at with that?
Yep. So we're still gathering feedback from different stakeholders, and then we'll bring that back to the board to give that feedback.
Ms. Thompson.
So just to be clear, that isn't what we're approving?
Correct.
That's not.
Yep. Just the 4 strategies and then the specific results for those strategies that were presented last time at the work session.
I want to highlight, too, that at the work session, there was considerable discussion about the items, and so tonight is just taking action on those. So, yeah.
And I also want to confirm for those who might not be familiar with the 5th arm of this, it's the Portrait of a Graduate, or I think the working title is something a little bit different.
Yes.
Foundations.
Yep.
Foundations of Success.
Foundations of Success. Thank you.
Yes.
And I know some, yep. So yes, we're excited to bring that back to the board and give you an update on the feedback from the different stakeholders on that work.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? All right. This is a voice vote, so all in favor of approval of this action, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. And it is approved. Thank you. All right. It is now 6:01, so we are going to circle back to discussion item D2. I'm going to let folks get back to that point in their board packets.
What page is it?
It's, I'm going. For those of you who are sitting here watching us scroll, this board packet is 199 pages long. So it looks like page 65 is where I'm at, Dr. Newmaster. Okay, so this is discussion item D2, presentation and public hearing related to the proposed 2022 payable 2023 property tax levy. Mr. Wald.
Thank you, Chair Ellison, members of the board, Ms. Collier, and Dr. Kazmierczak. This is our public hearing for school district taxes payable in 2023. This is the final step in certifying the 2023 property taxes, or 2023 tax levy. The parameters are set by statute for holding the Truth in Taxation hearing, and this presentation will fulfill all of those requirements. The agenda tonight is we'll review background information on school funding. We'll look at the district's budget, district's proposed tax levy for taxes payable in 23, and there'll be an opportunity for public comment. It's important to remember that school funding is a constitutional responsibility of the state government. Article 13, Section 1 of the Minnesota State Constitution requires the legislature to provide a general and uniform system of public schools and will use funding methods, including taxation, to ensure a thorough and efficient system of public schools in Minnesota. So as our schools are publicly funded, funding is highly regulated by the state. It includes that regulation includes developing formulas to calculate revenue, developing tax policies, and maximum levy amounts for taxing jurisdictions. The state also authorizes school boards to put funding referendums on the ballot as they determine necessary. There are some historic challenges in funding schools in Minnesota. First is that the state funding formula has not kept pace with inflation. And during the past legislative session, there was a 2.45% increase to the student formula for the first year and a 2% for the second year of the biennium. These increases are both well below the rate of inflation. Inflation has hit our organization hard like every other organization, families, businesses in the state. And so we're paying more for food and for labor, heat, gas. So after our modest increases each of the past 2 years, the state would need to increase the student formula by another $1,263 per student, or 8.7%, to have kept pace with inflation since the 02-03 school year. This graph shows the gap in funding over time, beginning at the funding level in 2003, and visualizes that widening gap between funding and inflation. It's been an ongoing issue our state has struggled with over time. So if you follow that blue line, that shows where the student formula would be if it had kept up with inflation since 2003. And the orange dotted line shows where the actual student formula is. And so you can see periods of time where that orange line flattens out and never makes up for that amount that is lost. And so that becomes a recurring loss year after year after year. And so the gap on this chart represents a shortfall for our district of over $10 million annually in funding if we had just kept pace with the rate of inflation. Second challenge for Minnesota schools is related to special education funding. Neither the state nor the federal government have fulfilled their responsibility or their promises for funding special education mandates. In Minnesota, we see our special ed costs increasing like any other expense, but at a higher rate, and so significantly higher than the CPI over time. And when we have unfunded mandates from the state, then we are required to use our general fund to fill in that gap. And so that's the challenge. We call that transfer of funds from the general fund to cover special education services, the cross subsidy. It's important that we continue to provide those services. They're necessary. They're the right services to provide. The state needs to do their share to fund the mandate as promised. It should be noted that a change in tax levy does not determine a change in school district budget or school district revenue. So the tax levy is based on many state-determined formulas plus voter-approved referendums. On our tax statements, we see those as separated out as voter-approved and non-voter-approved in our property tax statements. Some increases in tax levies are revenue neutral, and so they're offset by reductions in state aid. And so we've had years where the state government has decreased funding to schools and then allowed them to levy that funding. And so it's just a transfer. And while property tax owners might feel the increase, the school district did not receive an increase during that exercise. And so just as revenue formulas are developed and regulated by the state, the same is true of expenditures, voter-approved levies, and fund balances. And so the bottom line here is that the increase in state taxes does not always correlate to a revenue increase for school districts. The school district budget year is on the school year cycle. So our budget year begins July 1st, while the city and county both have a January 1st beginning to their budget year. So while the city and the county will collect their taxes in 2023 to pay for the 2023 budget, the taxes we collect in 2023 pay for the 23-24 school year. So it's a little bit different. And so because of that, the school district will approve the preliminary budget in June of 23 for the 23-24 school year. So for purposes of these hearings, school districts are permitted to use their prior year's budget as their reporting tool. School district budgets are divided into 9 funds. And so So, we manage those 9 funds, and we'll look at those in the following slides. We report the 9 funds in our local newspaper, the White Bear Press, each year, reporting revenues and expenditures for each, and we'll break that down here in the next few slides. So this pie chart details all of our revenue sources. The majority of revenues is within the general fund at 77.7% and is represented in blue on this pie chart. You can see food service, community service, debt service make up the balance of all revenues. And we'll dig into our general fund here next. And so the general fund, in this pie chart, we show that general fund accounts for 77.7% of all revenues. The majority of that revenue comes as state aid, and you see that in the orange wedge, 68.6. Next is local revenue at 27.3. And you can see that the federal government aid accounts for a very small percentage, about 4%, and that includes title funds, some nutrition services, some special education revenue. And these numbers that you see here for general fund revenue are very similar to what you'd see in any school district in the metro area. Next, we'll look at general fund expenditures by object. And again, you can see in the blue and orange that salaries and employee benefits constitute the majority of our expenditures, about 80%. That's to be expected in a very heavy human resources industry like education. Next is purchase services at 11.3%. These services include programming at 916, like career and technical courses, special ed, setting 4 programs. Also includes transportation and maintenance contractors. Capital expenditures at 4.6%. That would include technology, equipment purchases, purchases of buses and vans, and other equipment. And then supplies and materials account for a small percentage of our expenditures. Here we look at general fund expenditures by program. And you can see areas that directly support the classroom. And so we're looking at regular instruction, vocational education, special education, instructional support. Those areas account for over 71% of our general fund use. Pupil support, that's about 10%. Administration and district services account for about 6%. And then sites and buildings account for 12.4%. Administration accounts for about 3%. Again, this is pretty typical and looks very much like it has every other year. As we move into understanding the levy for taxes payable in 2023, we'll look at how the levy is determined, comparison of 22 to 23 levies, identify reasons for the change, and then impact on taxes. Owners pay property taxes to multiple taxing jurisdictions. That includes counties, city and township, school districts, and special taxing districts. Each jurisdiction determines their own levies. Add them all together, and you have the total of your property tax. The counties are the fiscal agents for property taxes, so they handle all the billing and distribution of property taxes. In mid-November, every property owner receives a property tax notice with the proposed taxes for the coming year. And in it will indicate levies by each jurisdiction and notifying property owners of the time and location of these hearings, as we're doing tonight. So we received those in mid-November. The next slides now we'll dig into school district property tax process. So school districts can levy property taxes up to 40 different categories. Not all school districts qualify for all of those categories. For example, the taconite aid category is not one that we qualify for. And there are many that we don't. And each school district has, depending on their particulars, qualify or don't qualify in many of those areas. There are max limits for each levy category. Some are limited by state law, and some, in case of some school districts, some require voter approval. MDE calculates a levy limit for each district. Most districts, ourselves included, don't levy to that maximum amount. The slide outlines the key steps in the process of determining the district levy. Any of these steps may affect the taxes on a parcel of property, but the district has control only over one of the 6 steps. School board's involved in step 5 here, but many factors come to play prior to your involvement. So the county assesses the value of each parcel of property, and that has a significant impact on the property taxes assigned to that parcel. It's important to note that the school board does not play a role in assessing the value of any properties. The legislature sets formulas for tax capacity, determining the percentage of the levy burden for each type of property, whether it be residential, rental, commercial. The county auditor calculates the tax capacity for each parcel and the net tax capacity for the entire district, and the legislature sets the school district tax levy limits. MDE calculates those levy limits, and each district based on the legislature's work in step 4. Finally, the school board adopts the proposed max levy in September and the final levy in December. And then finally, the county auditor determines the final tax based on the value of each property against the district's total tax capacity. So if a property increases in value more than their neighbors, they'll see a sharper increase than their neighbors. If it increases lower than their neighbors, they would see likely a lesser increase. This slide walks through the timeline of those 7 steps from the early in September, when MDE prepares a rough draft of the max levy limit, and at the end of September and the 26th, when you certified the max levy amount. In mid-November, the county sent out the proposed or preliminary statements to property owners. And then tonight we're holding the public hearing on the proposed levy, and following, the board will vote to certify the levy. Okay, so we'll look at the district's proposed levy for the taxes payable for 2023. It's an increase of $4,812,817, or 8.4%. And the following slides, we'll take a look at increases and decreases in the levy. This page provides a summary of our levy changes in the general fund, community services, and debt service areas. We won't go through each of those here, but we'll explain them in the following slides. Mr. Crow earlier tonight referenced the tax levy, or the tax rate of 35.08. That was included in the referendum. We're below that. It noted that in that document at 33.12. Okay, so this first one in general fund, this is the voter-approved operating referendum. There's an increase of $1,564,332. These funds are used for general operating expenses and are included in the general fund. The voter-approved levy was approved in 2017 and will be renewed in 2027. That levy is based on enrollment, and it has an inflationary adjuster to it, which makes up for accounts for the increase in that levy. Next is the general fund LTFM and debt service funds. So we're seeing a decrease in revenue for our annual long-term facilities maintenance and scheduled increases in voter-approved bonds, and those were calculated into the 2019 bond referendum debt service. Yeah, I got behind on a slide there, so sorry about that. There's really 3 elements to this that we'll look at. LTFM in the general fund, that covers general annual maintenance and is included in the levy each year. LTFM debt service, so those are scheduled payments on bonds that the board approves. And then finally, the voter-approved debt service, which we're was scheduled in the 2019 bond referendum. Okay. Prior adjustments. So each year when the levy is calculated in the fall for the following year's taxes payable, it's based on assumptions. I mentioned earlier that the board approves the budget for 23-24 in June, the preliminary budget. And so we're working on assumptions right now and estimates. And so once the year plays out, then adjustments from the prior year are made in the levy if the district over-levied or under-levied, and so there's a balance there. So there's an adjustment in this every year. This year, it's an adjustment in the favor of taxpayers of $906,837. Okay, so many factors impact property taxes, and individual properties can experience significantly different tax impact in the same year. So I've spoken with lots of people about their property taxes. Some who said, why did my neighbors go up so much and mine didn't? Others say, why did mine go up so much and my neighbors didn't? And it's really about fluctuating value. So you might ask someone, did you put an addition on your house at some point? And they're like, yeah, I did we added a bathroom and another bedroom, and so the assessed value went up an extra $85,000 or $100,000. And so you'd see that increase. So those are types of things that can have an impact. When property owners see an increase in their assessed value of their property relative to others in the taxing jurisdiction, so they would see a higher increase than others. So this is an example of if you were in a district where there were only 2 properties and both houses were valued at $100,000, then the district levy was a total of $500. Then each of those homes of equal property would pay, or of equal value, would pay $250 toward that $500 levy. Now, if the next year one home changes in value more than the other, you would see one home becomes worth $125,000, one's assessed at $110,000, and so that one person's taxes go down a little bit, one goes up a little bit, even though it's the same houses in the same community. It's just a different assessed value for those homes. Next, we'll look at the trend in property taxes over the past 4 years. So the following graph will show an impact on school district property taxes since 2020, based on no change, and then based on the actual change of 23.8% increase in property values. If we take a look at the value of $350,000 home in this red box, and you watch the property taxes for that home, you can see they drop every year. Now, there's probably not very many $350,000 homes in White Bear Lake or in any community that have an increased in value over those 4 years. So if a property didn't increase in value, those property taxes would drop, and that's because they're paying a smaller percentage of the district's levy than those homes whose property went up. Okay, so if there's no change in value, you would have seen a significant change in your property taxes. And this just puts that in a chart and in a bar graph. So you see a $250,000 homestead property on the left, a $400,000 on the right, and that's showing just what we looked at. You would see those property taxes actually went down a little bit. This is commercial and apartments, very much the same. And now we look at the same information, but based on 23.8% cumulative changes in property value. So you look at the $250,000 residential property on the left, and that's $250,000 in 2023. Based on those average increases of 23.8% over these 4 years, that home would have been valued at $201,971 over the 4-year period. And so you can see the property tax change there. Goes up slightly. And the same with the $400,000 $100,000 home, that would have been valued at $323,000 in 2020, and their property taxes, again, go up slightly. But that's a 23.8% cumulative change in property value, and over those 4 years, the property taxes went up on that $400,000 house 7.7%. So about 2%, actually maybe just slightly below the consumer price index over that period of 4 years. There are ways, we know that property taxes are serious business and that they impact all property owners, and some feel that impact more than others. And so there are some tax refunds and deferrals, and I won't be serving as anyone's tax advisor here, but only to note that you can find more information at the website listed on the top, revenue.state.mn.us. And so the homestead credit refund, sometimes we know that as the circuit breaker refund. That's available to both owners and renters with a maximum refund to owners of $2,930. There are income qualifications. So this refund is designed to help low-income households not feel that intense property tax impact. The special property tax refund is for any homeowner whose property values increase more than 12% in a given year, and $100 over the prior year. So the refund is on 60% of the amount above 12%. So if you went up 20%, so from 12 to 20, that 8% would see a 60% refund. And lots of people may qualify for that. And then the senior citizen property tax deferral, that's not refund, that's just deferring those property taxes. Sometimes a senior citizen might decide to defer those taxes, and then it just gets paid off by the estate later on. So the next step is the board will accept public comments on the proposed levy, and then the board will certify the 2023 property tax levy.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wald. Do we have time for board questions before we move into the public comments? Any questions from the board for Mr. Wald? Okay, so we will move into the public comment part of the Truth in Taxation hearing. I just want to read a couple of notes about our policies for public comment. Public hearing allows for 3 minutes per speaker. Vice Chair Arcand will time. With 1 minute remaining, the orange card will be held up. And at the end of 3 minutes, or the yellow card is 30 seconds, and at the end of 3 minutes, the red card and the gavel will be tapped. Speakers will be called to the microphone and recognized one at a time. Only those individuals who have been recognized will be allowed to speak. School district policy and data privacy laws preclude personnel and student matters or data from being discussed publicly. With that, is there anyone from the public who wishes to address the board? Yes, please. If you could state your name for the record, please.
James E. St. Jacques from Baptist Heights, Precinct 2.
Okay, thank you so much.
Can you hear me okay? The mic okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you.
I called up the office here about a couple of weeks ago to talk to Rachel, and she said something, there might be some rebates that are available too. Is this what they meant by the rebates when they talked about the property tax refund and so on? Other question I have is, why can't they take some of this huge surplus we have for the state of Minnesota, which is really good, and giving thanks for it, and kind of make up the difference on this and lower our property taxes?
We would agree with that.
Well, yeah, right?
Yeah.
I make it short and sweet with my comments. So.
Oh, we appreciate.
It's kind of a bundle for a fixed income senior to see that 29.4% increase for me, and a neighbor friend of mine is about 30%, 31%. That's my comments. If you can try to do something with that and give thanks for that property tax refund when it comes, and also for our state surplus. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. I will say that the tax credit, the renters and property tax credit is, applications are due August 15th. And more information can be found on that website. All right, anyone else who wishes to address the board?
I would just add, if anyone has specific questions, I'll be hanging out here so that you can catch me, with any questions they might have as well.
Okay. Great, thank you. Ms. Thompson.
Just one comment on that. I would say that as you presented everything to us tonight, one area that always gets me a little bit is that federal government only puts in a 4% into a school district in our country. And I think that is something that is lacking and maybe someday can help the impact of these things that we have to do on the local level kind of not be so harsh to some of our citizens.
Thank you. All right, any further comments or questions? Okay, thank you all very much. Thank you, Mr. Wald, for that very thorough presentation. So we are going to skip now to the operational item that we skipped, which is E1, which is to, thank you, Marissa, which is to approve the action on the certification of the 2022 payable 2023 property tax levy in the amount of $62,009,875.34. Mr. Wald.
Yeah, way earlier in the evening, you might remember the Truth in Taxation hearing we held. No, just, the recommendation that you read.
Right. You've heard the recommended action. Could I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion by, was that Ms. Daniels? Yes. Ms. Daniels, and a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Thompson. Any further discussion? All right. This will require a roll call vote. I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Strifoggi?
Aye.
Thompson, aye. Arcan?
Aye.
Beloit?
Aye.
Daniels?
Aye.
Ellison?
Aye.
Newmaster?
Aye.
And the motion passes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. So now we will move into our last operational item, which is E6, approving the action on the school board policy. Making sure I'm getting all this. That's where I am, right? Okay. So we're going to move into E6, which is the action on the school board policies, which is the second reading of policies 402, 528, 615, 722, 806. So if I could get a motion to approve.
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Beloit and a second.
Second.
Second by Dr. Arcan. Usually we approve these all in one fell swoop. So I would ask the board, all in favor of approving these policies, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. And the motion passes. All right, and we are, I'm scrolling here. And we are moving into the final operational item, which is E7, which is the action on the property purchase agreement. So, Mr. Wald.
Yeah, thank you. A property owner adjacent to the construction project at North Campus has recently agreed to sell his property to the school district. The home is currently a rental, and the seller's asked to delay closing until March 28th of 2023, and so we've agreed to do that. Yeah, so that's all of that.
Okay. So, just a point of order. Is it recommended that we read the full?
Yeah, maybe, Tim, you could maybe read the recommended action.
Sure. The recommended action is that the board approve the purchase agreement for the property described as PID number 113-022-430016, located in the city of White Bear Lake, county of Ramsey, state of Minnesota. The board authorizes the superintendent and the assistant superintendent for finance and operations to sign all documents as necessary to acquire said property.
Thank you. You've heard the recommended action. Could I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion by Dr. Arcand and a second?
Second.
A second by Ms. Daniels. Any discussion? Seeing none, this will require a roll call vote. I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Strifoggi?
Aye.
Thompson, aye. Arcan?
Aye.
Beloit?
Aye.
Daniels?
Aye.
Ellison?
Aye.
Newmaster?
Aye.
And the motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Walton.
Thank you.
All right, we have now moved into the final item on the agenda, which is board forum. And board forum is an opportunity for board members to share things going on in the district and things that they're involved in with the district. So anybody have anything for board forum?
Want to wish
Ms.
everyone a
Daniels?
nice winter break and thank all the staff across the district for all the hard work they did the first part of the year, and to enjoy a little well-deserved time off, and families too.
Good. Anyone else have anything? I just want to add, yes, I want to echo that. Thank you to all of the staff, and I hope everybody gets time to take a nap over winter break. And I also wanted to just comment that any discussion of finance always leads me to recommend that if individuals have questions or concerns about legislative funding for school districts, to contact their elected officials in the legislature, both state and federal. I think it's always a good idea to keep in contact with those elected who have the budgets in front of them as far as what's going to be parceled out to all of the districts and all the other organizations around the state that get state funding. So please contact your legislative local officials, especially about special education funding. I think that that is really critical. Dr. Newmaster.
Second both of those comments. And I guess on the theme of gratitude, I'd say I appreciate our district, our state, our surplus, and I think our kids are fortunate. So I'm hoping that 2023 will bring a year that resolves a lot of the budget problems.
Agreed. All right. Thank you to my fellow board members for your year of service, and I look forward to serving with you in 2023. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move for an adjournment.
Motion by Dr. Arcand, and a second?
Second.
A second by Dr. Newmaster. All in favor of adjournment, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. And we are adjourned.